Okay, some data recently came out that shows people are still moving to Florida, and they're definitely moving to Tampa. But before you make the move, let's go over some of the pros and cons, see what you might love and what you might hate. I'm Sam, and this is the Living in Tampa channel, and as always, we make these videos for you to know what it's like to live and move to the whole Tampa, Florida area. We're also a team of realtors and would love a chance to earn your real estate business, but for today, we're gonna talk about the pros and cons of living in Tampa. These are both pretty big lists, so bear with me. We got 8 points on each side, and we're gonna start with the job market. All right, jobs. Jobs are a big topic if you're thinking about moving to an area, especially a new area, whether you're coming with a job or not. You still want to know what the future could potentially look like. Now, the whole Tampa area has been really tourism-based and sales-based for a long time, but companies keep expanding. JP Morgan and Citi and a lot of these companies, these high financial services companies, Fisher Investments, a lot of these companies keep expanding in the area and have all different kinds of jobs within them. Now, of course, the tourism industry is still big down here, but it's becoming less dominant when you're looking at the overall job market. And that diversification is something that is very valuable as we look to the future. And people like to say there's tech jobs down here. There's not that many tech jobs. A lot of the tech jobs are with these big banks. There are some smaller tech companies, but it's not the kind of tech jobs that you see in San Francisco or Austin or places like that. All right, pro number 2, hitting back on tourism, the beaches here are world class. Now, of course, we have our own beaches here in the Tampa area in Pinellas County mostly, going from Tarpon Springs all the way down to Tierra Verde. But then when you go down one county, you go down into Manatee County, you go down into Sarasota County, the beaches like Anna Marie Island and Bradenton Beach, and really beautiful Siesta Key, beautiful beaches down there. So this whole area is aligned with some of the best beaches in the whole country. And whether you want to stay in a condo and walk to the beach, or you want to go out to Honeymoon Island, Caladesi Island, and kayak through the mangroves, there's a lot of different options. Or you want to rent a boat or buy a boat when you're down here, or join Freedom Boat Club and go out to the sandbars or go fish in the bay. Like, there's just a lot of different things you can do with the beaches and on the water. It's just super cool aspect of our area. There's water everywhere. This is a bayou, which is brackish water here in the middle of Tarpon Springs. Checking on my rent house just down the road, about a renter moving in soon. I'm like, let's go shoot by the water. We have a nice breeze. It's like 100 degrees right now, so anytime I can get a little bit of breeze, I'm thankful. All right, pro number 3, and this is probably one of the reasons Florida's on your list at all, no state income tax. And I was talking to my dad about this the other day. He's like, you guys don't have state income tax, right? I'm like, no. I was like, we don't even file anything. You just file federal. The rest of it, you're paying sales tax on your cars, you're paying sales tax on all kinds of purchases and all different, depending on which county you're buying it in and which city, and sales tax varies quite a bit around here, but no state income tax keeps that number just out of your budget. Although some of my clients move from foodie cities like Vancouver, or this is a very specific client, Philandina, they moved from Vancouver, very foodie city, and they were sad that the food scene wasn't more thriving here. It's thriving in pockets. So when you're in downtown St. Pete, when you're in Dunedin, when you're in Safety Harbor, there's some really unique spots. Then you go into Tampa, you've got stuff in Hyde Park, you got Soho, you've got all kinds of South Tampa spots, then over into Seminole Heights, back over into West Tampa. Amazing Indian food in certain pockets. Like, it's growing and has a lot of momentum. Let's say that. That's more the pro in my mind of the whole area is momentum. And even on the higher end, there have been a few restaurants in the Tampa area that have been awarded Michelin stars in the past year. And that's kind of a big deal for the Tampa area. Now, Michelin keeps expanding to different cities in the US as the US food scene grows compared to Europe. But to be recognized is super cool. All right, pro number 5 is sports. So this is a big draw to a lot of our clients. We got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, we have the Tampa Bay Lightning, we have the Rowdies, the soccer team in St. Pete. We have tons of spring baseball. We have the Tampa Rays, which who knows where they're gonna end up with the new stadium. They're playing in the Yankees minor league stadium right now, which is right there by the Bucs stadium. The Yankees minor league stadium is super nice. I'm sure no one's that surprised by that, but I think the Rays are pretty happy to be playing in there. Obviously their stadium, the Trop, got super destroyed by the hurricanes last year, Helene and Milton just kind of ripped the roof off of that thing. But also with a lot of these teams, making it into the playoffs each year, especially in the past 5 years, doing it a lot, the Lightning winning a few championships, the buzz around these teams is at an all-time high. And the Amalie Arena where the Lightning play is right in the middle of downtown. You have cool developments like Water Street right across the street. You have all kinds of stuff down there to do while you're at the game. Concerts down there, everything's like right on the water, super cool. Of course, there's a lot of cities that think their airport is the best, and I used to travel a lot for work and have been in hundreds of airports around the world. Tampa is literally by far my favorite, just because of how easy it is to go from walking in the door to being at your gate. It gets spread out really well, and yeah, some other airports are like that. There's something that you love about your home airport, and the Tampa airport is one you'll grow to love pretty easily. But it's not just air travel that's getting easier and easier. Obviously, there's other airports in the area too. People fly to Orlando and drive here. People fly into St. Pete with these different seasonal flights with Allegiant that are super cheap. One client is looking to move from Columbus to here, and his flights with Allegiant from Columbus to St. Pete right now are like $47 each time he comes. So he's been down here a lot. We're looking for a couple different properties. But on top of air travel, we have a major hub, major destination to launch into cruises. All kinds of cruises leave from the Tampa port, and that is right in the middle of downtown. On top of this, there's all kinds of other entertainment that goes along with this travel perk. Obviously, we have the beaches and amusement parks and museums and that kind of stuff here in Tampa, but you're then just 2 hours, a little less than 2 hours to the Disney parks over in Orlando. So if you live kind of central Tampa, you're 45 minutes from the beach, you're an hour and a half from Disney. Like, you have a lot of things that are right there in easy access for you. All right, pro number 7, we have some really unique and diverse areas in Tampa. Because it's such an old town, we have really old historic areas like Ybor City and West Tampa, and then even over here along the beaches, places like Tarpon Springs and Dunedin and St. Petersburg that are really old towns. But in the midst of that, we have newer suburban developments. Obviously, we have tons of new master planned communities out in the suburbs to the north and to the east and to the southeast. There's just a lot of different options. There's suburbs that are kind of within town, like West Chase. There's other suburbs that are further out, like Trinity or Wesley Chapel or Parrish or Riverview. Like, there's just a lot of different options. And as you expand on these layers, you start to uncover these kind of layers of the onion. As you go out further, it gets more spaced out, it gets newer, and gets a little more affordable as well. And the final pro here, pro number 8, is you get a lot of big city amenities without having the hustle and bustle of a big city. It is a very laid back vibe here in Tampa, whether you're down at the Riverwalk, you're eating down by the water, you're over in the beaches, even out in the suburbs, everything is pretty laid back. So you get the airport, the museums, the entertainment, the travel hubs, you get all this stuff that a big city has for you, but you also don't have to go as fast of a pace. All right, now let's get into the cons. Con number 1, and this is a con in most of the country and a lot of the world over the past 5 years, is just climbing cost of living. Now, my cost of living has increased quite a bit since I've moved to Florida. I moved here in 2020. Rates were low. I only had 1 kid. Now rates are high. I have 3 kids, and I have a property that's flooded a couple times. Other videos if you want to check that out. But cost of living is climbing, and affordability is a struggle all over the US right now, and Tampa is not exempt from that. So whether you're looking to make a move to the area, you're looking to buy, you're looking to rent, you're looking for jobs, like all that affordability conversation is a big part of the conversation, especially when we're buying a house and especially when we're buying a starter house. I've had this experience with a couple clients recently where once you get really $450,000 and below on a house, the tax ratio seems like the taxes are really high. A lot of our clients spend $600,000 to $800,000 and the taxes seem like they're about 1.2%. But if you spend about $400,000, sometimes the taxes seem like they're over 2% because there are some parts of your taxes in a lot of these newer developments called CDDs. CDDs are a fixed cost. They're not based on the value of your home. They're not based on the assessed value of your home. They're based on your lot size. So you might be paying the same amount of CDD as a $1 million house if you're a $400,000 house. So that can really throw off your affordability when it comes to housing. I'm curious your thoughts. Go in the comments below. If rates go down, let's say rates go down to the high 5s, do you think prices go up or do you think prices kind of stay stable? Right now we're in a pretty balanced market where buyers have a lot more leverage than we're used to having over the past 4 or 5 years. But if rates go down, I do wonder if prices will just, maybe they'll hold strong. Maybe they'll just kind of be even for the year. They might go up a little bit too. All right, con number 2 is insurance. And speaking of the house of mine that flooded just down the road, my flood insurance on that house is crazy expensive and it just went up the maximum amount they're allowed to increase it, which is $1,200 a year. Insurance though is not that crazy in the Tampa area. Like, this is a big thing that gets blown out of proportion. It's definitely a thing that you should educate yourself on. If you're interested in connecting about insurance, we did a webinar for like the people that have reached out and past clients and current clients with an insurance broker. And he provided a lot of great insight on how to make sure your insurance is more affordable. Long story short though, it's not that hard of a puzzle. We can find houses where your roof is attached well. We can find houses that are made of concrete. We can find houses that are not in flood zones. My house, which is probably worth $600,000, my insurance is $2,500 a year. That does not seem that extreme to me. That's homeowners insurance and potentially flood insurance. Flood insurance is also easy to avoid. Flood zones are easy to avoid. Car insurance is another thing. This is another thing that gets kind of blown out of proportion. And you see these averages. We talked about this in other videos. Car insurance is not as expensive as you think. For example, I spend about $2,200 a year for 2 cars with full coverage. And I had an accident 2 years ago. Now, if you've had like 3 total losses in the past 5 years, your insurance is gonna be high wherever you go, I promise. My voice just got really squeaky there. But car insurance gets kind of blown out of proportion. It bugs me. Con number 3 is traffic. Now, you're coming from New York City, you're coming from Seattle, you're coming from Dallas. Yeah, the traffic's not gonna seem that intense, but the traffic is something you have to think about. It does affect your drive times quite a bit during typical commute times, that 7:30 to 10:30 in the morning, and then that kind of like 3:30 to 6:30 in the afternoon, you're gonna get slowed down quite a bit. And there's just certain spots where you're gonna get stuck at that left turn light and they've got to go through it 5 or 6 times before you get a chance to go. That happens a lot all over the area. And then a lot of these common commute paths like Dale Mabry in Hillsborough County, and then like US 19 in Pinellas County, they have a lot of stoplights. So people are racing and slamming on their brakes and racing and slamming on the brakes. There's very often accidents, and that's a whole another thing. And those accidents have to get handled by Florida Highway Patrol, and they take longer to get there. And traffic is an issue. Yeah, if you're coming from areas that have truly soul-crushing traffic and, you know, $30 bridges you have to cross, it's not like that, but it is an issue. And like I've said before, if it wasn't an issue, they wouldn't be trying to fix it. They're investing a ton in infrastructure, in expanding toll roads and a new bridge across the bay. Like, they're investing a ton of money in this, and if it wasn't a problem, they wouldn't be putting money into it. Con number 4 is the weather. Now, the weather could be a pro very easily, but we're gonna talk about it as a con right now. Outside is 98 degrees right now. We got a little breeze keeping me dry. I appreciate that, but it is super hot in the summer. And I think everyone expects that. If you want to live somewhere tropical, it's gonna be very, very hot in the summer. And it's gonna be very humid. Now, some of my clients that have moved from Iowa recently, they're talking about the corn sweat up in Iowa. When corn's growing, it produces a lot of moisture in the air, and it's actually more humid in Iowa than it is in Florida right now. I get it, other places are humid, or I grew up in Oklahoma, we'd have multiple days, sometimes multiple weeks in a row where it's over 100 in the summer. It's just hot here longer. That's the biggest difference. Yeah, it's super humid. Things get wet if you leave them outside, even if it didn't rain. It's just humid. Now, you get pretty used to it. You actually do. Air conditioners work great. They work hard. They get backed up this time of year. We got a good AC guy if you move here. And con number 5 is also something I can talk about right now as we're speaking, is hurricane season. So hurricane season is half of the year. It's 6 months out of the year, but it's really only about 4 of those months where it's a higher risk. And you start the hurricane season with all these named storms, and they release the names before the season even starts. It's always kind of funny seeing which ones are gonna be memorable or not. But as I said previously, hurricane risk and flood risk is pretty easy to navigate. Yeah, you might put shutters up on your windows if it's gonna be really high wind and you have a lot of trees. You might have flood insurance if you're in a flood zone. You might have flood insurance if you're not in a flood zone just because you want it. Plenty of clients do that. But it's pretty easy to navigate. But it is a thing you have to navigate every single year, 6 months out of the year. But I would rather navigate that with the heat than shoveling snow. And I know a lot of you would too. Con number 6 is wages. I know we talked about jobs diversifying, but wages are just not keeping pace. Affordability is the struggle that we've talked about in this as well. And what the data shows is that people have to have more jobs to afford to live here, to afford to live in a lot of places, to afford to own houses, to afford to send their kids to school. Households just have more jobs on average right now because affordability is so high compared to the past decades. Another way this shows up in the Tampa area is that the unemployment number stays really, really low. We're at like 3% unemployment right now. Of course, I remember my college economics classes, like 5 to 6% is more of a balanced market where people can quit jobs and go find another one. And that's kind of like shows that the movement of people through jobs. 3% probably points more toward people having multiple jobs. Con number 7, I know we hit on car insurance a little bit, so you're gonna have it because you gotta have a car. Tampa is a very car dependent area. The whole area does not have much public transportation. Even the bike trails are pretty isolated to specific areas, and we have clients that are trying to buy near the bike trails all the time. But it's very car dependent, whether you're going to the grocery store or whether you're going to school. Like, there's just not a lot of areas where you can avoid getting in your car every single day. There are areas where you could, drive a golf cart. We have a lot of people that buy in golf cart zones and really love that vibe. But with all the rain we mentioned during hurricane season, I don't know how much I'd want to be driving my golf cart this time of year. All right, con number 8, the final con here. There are growing pains. Now, what does that mean? All of these areas are growing fast. Pasco County on the north side of the Tampa area is projected to double in size. So going from about 500,000 to about 1 million in the next 20 to 25 years. That is rapid growth. Now, there's still a lot of preserved land in Pasco County. Even once they grow to that size, it will still be at minimum 30% preserved, which is super cool. That is like government preserved land, which I guess governments change their mind sometimes, but it's beautiful, open, lush, it's nice. But as everything grows and grows and grows, and now there's all these repairs from these hurricanes, things get a little newer. Places lose character. That's just part of it. Even my house down here is almost in a historic district. This historic district gets preserved. Some other places just have to get torn down. And that's part of it. That's part of growth. That's part of being an older city too. There's, big areas in West Tampa where, buildings are just falling apart and they need to get torn down and something new needs to go there. Locals don't love that. Locals especially don't love it when apartments go there, especially when apartments go by their neighborhood. You see that a lot in Wesley Chapel. A lot of people really pushing back on this massive apartment developments all throughout, but we have a housing issue. We gotta make houses for people. So that's kind of how it goes. I hope all this shows you the things you're gonna have to consider. The opportunity that's available, the excitement that's available, the things you're gonna have to maybe get over, or maybe just complain about with the locals. But as always, we'd love to connect with you. If you made it to the end of this video, give us a call, text, or email. Let's hop on a Zoom call. We'll get you one of our webinars, or we'll just talk one-on-one and see how we can help with your move. Thanks for coming by.